Welcome back to Susan's office and hanging out in Susan's office with Holly and Susan. We're going to talk something today, something that's near and dear to both of our hearts, although Holly gets to indulge a lot more frequently than I do, and that's theater, especially Broadway.
Well, I will confess, Susan and I went to New York one time. We took the train that time. We did. It was wonderful. From Erie to New York City on the train. It was a delightful time. But I can say to Susan, hey, Susan, New York City,
center of the universe.
we went through New York doing that the whole time. And if you're not a Broadway fan, you might not recognize that as Rent.
From Rent, right? But which you can watch on Netflix, I think now. Anyway, it's a movie. They turned it into a movie.
It's coming out on Fox. They're doing one of their live performances. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you're going to make that work. There were some questionable words, and yeah, I just don't. I love it. It's one of my favorites. I just don't know. So, but next month, we're filming this in January, so in February, I am going to see, and I'm so excited I can hardly stand it, in these 3 words, I mentioned a musical that my mother loved. She took a trip to New York with my dad and went to see, they're playing our song with Lucy Arnaz and Richard Klein. And she came home and I had played that musical. I know all the songs by heart. Yeah. My kids did as well. And they're having a 40th anniversary. And both Lucy Arnaz and Richard Klein are coming back and doing a concert in February. So we have tickets. And it's kind of nostalgic. We lost my mom a little more than a year ago. She would have loved it. I would have found a way to get her there to see it. And in these 3 words, when I used that musical, there's a song on it about saying the words, and that he wrote music because he couldn't find the words, and it became imperative to the show and to the relationship in it. And so it fit my book so well. So I used it in a book. It was a little shout out to my mom and a shout out to a show that I've never seen staged, but it's absolutely on my top 10 because I love it that much. So
well, and I grew up in New Jersey. So as a kid, had literal Broadway advertisements on television where I grew up, well, back when we used to watch TV over the air because that's all we had. But I grew up outside.
Back in the olden days,
in the way back days, the way back days.
When you had to get up and turn the channel.
I did.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember, there were lots of those. And for 8th grade, our trip, our 8th grade graduation trip for the whole school was a field trip to New York City. And we went to see Annie. And now my mom used to take us into the city. My mom would take it in the city. I want you to know it's called the city.
There is no other city
outside of New York City or in New York City. It is the city. There is no other city. It is the city. And so she would take us in. We would see a lot of Radio City Music Hall things and stuff like that. But a lot of the kids I went to school with had never left the county in New Jersey that we grew up in. So it was their first time in New York City and getting to see a play. And I love Broadway, and I love musicals, and I love plays as well, but right. I do love musicals. And then when TJ was small, when my son was small, my then husband, we used to go in at Christmas time, and we would go, one of the things we got to see was Patrick Stewart, and I'm a big Star Trek fan. So we got to see Patrick Stewart do a one-man show of A Christmas Carol.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was unbelievable. Just amazing. One guy, playing very few props. It was amazing. And one of my favorites then too, NINC, Novelist Inc. conference. I went with a number of writers to see Wicked.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, how much I love that show.
That was a wonderful show. And we saw Hamilton in New York, and then I went just a few weeks ago and saw it in Pittsburgh. It's touring now, and took one of our younger minions with us. And it was so exciting to see another young person find that love. And we had all kinds of warnings like, I will come over and do you in if you make noise.
No talking.
You sit there, you be quiet, you ask all your questions at intermission because it's the theater and you don't, they laugh. I feel I'm a fairly mellow person, but we had gone to see Aida, the musical, not the opera. And I was so excited. I knew the music, and the opening of the second act is this beautiful song. I could not wait to see staged. And the lady behind me had
Twizzlers.
I've
heard this story.
They're the bane of my existence. And like
Crinkle,
this
crinkle.
beautiful song is starting, and she's just back there like right in my ear. And the two guys in front of me were talking during intermission, which great, go ahead. But the song is starting, and they're just like me, me. And so I like gave him a little kick. You can't see it because it's down here, Susan's side. I gave him a little kick, and I went shh, and turned around and went shh to the Twizzler lady, because it's my theater rage. I don't get road rage, but I do get theater rage. And I shushed everybody. But I'd taken all the kids, and for me, that's a huge expenditure.
It is. It's not cheap.
No,
even here, you know,
right.
even
to
in
take
Erie,
all the
it's
kids
expensive.
to Broadway to see a show. We teach them early. You don't mess around with it.
Mess in the theater.
You sit there and you be quiet. I don't care.
Have some respect.
Yes,
well,
and
seriously, it is. It's respect for the performers. Don't let your darn cell phone go off or anything like that. You know, I'll tell you, I haven't seen many shows with TJ, but TJ and I went to see Green Day's American Idiot.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I went because I liked the music. And I went because, you know, T was the one who had introduced me to the music, and I enjoyed it way, way more than I anticipated. It was fabulous. I recommend that one if you get a chance to see that, Green Day, American Idiot.
Why don't we call this quits and go on? Because I have another Broadway story.
And tell us in the comments, like, is there a musical or a production that you really love?
And because I love Broadway, I'm going to insist we do a second one because I have something else, but we're going way over. So.
Okay, so we'll be back with more theater.
See you in a minute.
See you in a week or whatever.
Well, yeah, we'll see you in a few days.